Gambier, Burkina Faso, delegated with Extra Benin, Kefsa Kenya, delegated with APSF South African, SL Sierra Leone, France, Liberia, ISA Zambia, PSF Ghana, RPS Rwanda, Tanzania, Uganda, delegated with DRC, ZPSA Zimbabwe. Full members present and voting. Acknowledging members in association, IFAM Guinea, PSSN Namibia, UPPSA Botswana. Thank you.
Thank you very much. 17 full members present and voting. Any proposer to resume the standing orders? Proposer from Liberia. Seconder, NAPSSL Sierra Leone. All those against? Motion carried unanimously. Procedural motion, Capture Tanzania. All those again? So initially we did we replaced Victoria for the 6th session, and this marks the beginning of the 7th session. We would want to put before the House a motion again. So this is the 15th IPSF AfRO Regional Assembly, appoints Katrina Magoma to replace Victoria Ogoamoni for the 7th session as a scrutineer of the 15th IPSF AfRO Regional Assembly. This motion shall not be reviewed once it has been achieved. So, all those against? No. The floor is open for discussion. All those against? Motion carried unanimously. This is the 15th IPSF AfRO Regional Assembly, appoints Mr. Daniel McDonald to replace Patience Moini as part of the Motions Committee for the 7th session of IPSF AfRO Regional Assembly. This motion shall not be reviewed once it has been achieved. The floor is open for discussion. This is the 15th IPSF AfRO Regional Assembly, appoints Mr. Daniel McDonald to replace Patience Moini as part of the Motions Committee for the 7th session of the 15th IPSF AfRO Regional Assembly. This motion shall not be reviewed once it has been achieved. All those against? Motion carried unanimously. Motion 42, meeting secretary. So the meeting secretary for the sixth session will want to leave after the arrival of the meeting secretary approved at the beginning of the regional assembly, and so we want us to approve her. So for this motion, I'll hand the floor to the regional secretary.
This, the 15th IPSF AfRO Regional Assembly accepts and adopts the IPSF AfRO Regional Financial Report 2025.
Ceci est la 15e assise de la région africaine, accepte et adopte le rapport financier régional de la région africaine. Merci.
I'll pass the chair over to Izzy.
So IPSF's budget. Okay, so for the IPSF budget, that's the budget given to all the regional officers, that's 2,100 euros. The regional reserves, 300 euros. And then 200 euro from selling of the IPSF AfRO merchandise, and then 100 euro expected sponsorship, and then for the auction nights. So in the budget that was shared in January with you, there was no revenue to be generated from the auction night as well. And so the ones on the left is what we're expecting to, like the sources of income for the regional office at the beginning of the mandate, and this is the outcome. So we have the projected profits from the merchandise that we produce is 600 euro, and then from the auction night, which is yet to be held, which we have been told by the RC that it will during the gala night, is 300 euro. So please. So this is the expenses, RWG travel expenses, to reimburse RWG travels. Currently, we do 2 main travels every year, even though some of the some of the RWG volunteer for some events, which they are not reimbursed for. But currently, these are the other 2 because the budget allocation is not even enough. And the project grant was €140. Is yet to be released. To be released after the symposium. And then membership fee grant, no one applied. For the PD awards that were organized today, for the production of the awards, €75 have been allocated. And then for the AFPS grants, €360, which has been awarded to Mr. Young Bryant and Claude Nawono. And then for annual best CPSU awards, plaques will be given to first position in the categories. They are going to be given medals as well. And then certificates for first runner-up, second runner-up, first runner-up, second runner-up, in line with the motions and force that was proposed in the AFPS in Sierra Leone. And then the IPSF AfRO merchandise, we put €100 in the budget, but the interest was great, and so we had to increase the allocation for the production of the merchandise. We realized that in the regional assembly we don't have some of these things that the other regional offices have. That's for the doorbell and then the IPSF AfRO flag. And so we use €32 in the production of these 2 things. So it brings the outcome to €3,081. That's the amount to be spent by IPSF AfRO in 2026. But this is an intermediate budget, so the final budget will be shared with you in the regional symposium in Zambia. Because we are still, some of these things may either go up or increase, or come down, because we may even end up getting more profit from the sale of the merchandise, depending on how they move. So, and if no member organization applies for the project grant, like it says here, if a member organization applies for the project grant, then the amount to be placed in the IPSF AfRO regional reserves is going to reduce. So the difference from the projected outcome and the difference from the final budget, that's what we are spending, is €25, and then we are going to be making a gain of €219 after everything, and to be placed in the regional reserve. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Kevin, for your presentation. So the floor is open for discussion. Kindly submit your interventions via the form. In the absence of any comments, we'll move to close discussion. We'll close the discussion and proceed to voting. So if you are against, kindly raise your voting card. If you abstain, kindly raise your voting card. Motion has been passed unanimously.
So motion 18, This, the 15th IPSF AfRO Regional Assembly accepts and adopts the financial report of the 14th IPSF African Pharmaceutical Symposium.
Motion 18. Ceci est la 15e Assemblée régionale de l'IPSF AfRO qui accepte et adopte le rapport financier du 14e assise du symposium pharmaceutique. Merci.
Thank you. So we invite the RC chairperson to present his financial reports.
Thank you, Chair, for the floor. I don't know if it's visible to everyone, especially in the back. So, for our financial report, I will summarize it into a few categories. We have some incomes or revenues that we collected. Thank you, Chair, for the floor. So let me summarize our financial report. The first part is about the revenues or income received. The first one is from international participants, but you have even the local participants. So for the international participants, I will say we collect the money for the readers in training, main symposium, and PSD. For the readers in training, we from international participants, we had 43, which total to 4,450 USD, and then for the main symposium, we have 156 international participants. They registered in different categories, as you can see from the screen. So the total amount was 42,640 USD. And then for the PSD, can you slide? Yes, for the PSD, we have 131 international participants. We collected amount totaling to 20K USD. Then for the we had some extra charges collected from the rooms. Extra charge for the single occupant was 22 USD, and even for the RE or rent arrivals was 60 USD. So we collected 666. Is it true? Yeah, USD. So we collected incomes from the domestic participants as well, from phase 1, phase 2, and phase 3. So all our local participants for in phase 1, where we collected for LIT 450 USD, then it was for 15 local participants that we had in LIT, and then for many symposium, we had 25 local participants who managed to pay for the symposium. We collected 2,000 USD, and then lastly for PSD, we have only one who paid, apart from the reception committee, who paid, and then we collected 150 USD. Yes. So for this financial summary of the amount collected for the total amount collected was 69,906 USD. Yes, but we had some few extra transactional loss, which did not get a way to negotiate between you and us, because your receipts showed that you sent a full amount, but from our end, we lost some few amount. So the total is 625 USD. So we have sponsors. Our sponsors are around 12, if I'm not wrong. So the total amount collected from sponsors, it was 26,463 USD. Yes. Then the total collected, the revenue was, if you take the sponsorship plus the registration fees, was 96,369 USD. Yes. If we go to the expenses, and go down. Yes. Moving to the expenses, had expenses for readers in training, where for the rooms we spent almost 4,495.9 USD for almost 43 individuals who were here for the readers in training. For buffet, we gave dinner to 58 participants, and the dinner was 15K. Then for the lunch, the same, 15 people. Then coffee break, we had coffee break in the readers in the training. We had some refreshment water, 58 participants. Transportation cost us, one costa 300K Ghanaian francs, and then we had some small books and reflector. Yeah. So if you go to the main symposium, we have almost 83 rooms. So we spent almost 39,577K USD, and then we had welcome night where we spent 2,443 USD, and then we had hotel coverage on 20. It was the first day of the symposium. We had meal and coffee break. So on that day we spent almost 6,130 USD. Then 21st we had only meals, no coffee break at the hotel. So we spent the same. Yes. And then the coverage for 22 and 23, lunch and coffee break was served. Yes. lunch and coffee break was served. It was three. We spent we spent 2,043 USD. Then lunch on 24th, which is tomorrow. Our lunch is supposed to be 10K per person, so we'll be spending almost 6,811. So we have other expenses like backdrop banner, add 2 backdrop banners, feeder banners, add 2. We have printed almost 27 poster boards, pull-ups. We had pull-ups, we had conference books. And then for public health campaign, we had planned for the speaker and soundtrack, but tomorrow we're not going to have it. So the money which was planned for it, we go to miscellaneous, and then small banners, we have them 3 printed, and then we have t-shirts, 150, but we added 30 for the pad drive, and then we have culture and auction night, where we had meals and drinks, that's the amount we spend, and then for the gala, that's the amount we will spend, but already booked. Then we had cameraman, that's the amount we spent. Our post-symposium tour, which will take place in 3 places, Fazenda for the first day, Karongi at the Kivu for the second day, Genocide Memorial Site for the third day, as people prepare to get back home. So for Fazenda, we'll be spending for games 953 USD, and then for lunch and dinner, we'll be spending 2,861, and then for Karongi, we'll be spending for boats and hiking, we'll be spending almost 476 USD, and then dinner, we'll be spending 1,021 USD, and then for the lunch, for the key, we'll be spending 1,021 USD. Then for the Genocide Memorial Museum, we'll be spending some amount for water and donation and lunch and dinner. Lunch and dinner will be 1,907 USD. Then transportation for the 3 days of the tour, we'll be spending almost 2,452 USD. Then for the accommodation, for 4 nights of the PST, we'll be spending 2,000.
Thank you, Chair. Tracy Cherok, Kepsa, Kenya. I would like to ask, in the financial budget on the main symposium, the lunch budget on 24th is indicated at a frequency of 5. So I would like to understand why the frequency is 5 and not 1, because lunch is served once. Yeah, like the quantity is 200 and frequency I thought should be once rather than 5. So I would like to understand why the frequency is 5. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Kepsa, for your new comment.
Mr. Gideon, you have the floor for your direct comment.
If I ask, can you please put back the yes. thank you so much for your question. This was supposed to be a dinner for the whole days of main symposium, but I wrote lunch. It's 5 days dinner.
Secure motion, Stefan Bia Burkina Faso. You have the floor, Stefan.
Thank you, Chair, for the floor. Desire Stefan Bia Burkina Faso. I would like to propose that we had an extra online RA just to start you on the financial report, because last year we adopt financial report, and then during the PST we got surprised. So we don't want to make the same mistake by accepting or according this and then be surprised for the 3 remaining days. So I would like to ask you to support this so that we have it at at the end of the entire trip, and then we go. Yeah.
For your information, Manjari IPSF President, Motion Committee, I would like to provide information to the floor that financial report of regional symposium have to be submitted twice. One as an interim as the current motion that you are discussing. And even with this one being accepted or not accepted, next year at the regional symposium or regional assembly, the final financial report has to be accepted once again, and that one will be the one that determined whether it's going to be accepted or not, and if not accepted, the member organization will have to pay the fine, which is calculated based on the official document. And therefore, I would like to let you know that this is only an interim report, and the regional symposium host shall submit another one the following year.
Clarification, Ms. Bibi.
Thank you, Chair, for the floor. Bibi Margaret, Regional Secretary. So I just wish to clarify whether the delegate from Stefan BF Burkina Faso was talking about a vote by correspondence rather than an online RA for a motion. Thank you, Chair.
Okay, Stefan BF, you have the floor.
Thank you, Chair, for the floor. This is Stefan Bia Burkina Faso. Yes, I was talking about the online RA, and I also want to direct the point of information to the school. It's now. You.
Technical, IPSF President Manjari.
Thank you for the floor, Chair. Manjari IPSF President, Motion Committee. I would like to provide information and request the Chair and the Secretary to change the wording of the motion from accepts and adopt the financial report to be accept and adopt the interim financial report of the 14 IPSF African Pharmaceutical Symposium. Thank you.
People that don't want to.
Thank you, Chair, for the floor. This is Stefan Bia Burkina Faso. To the IPSS President, the thing with having a financial report accept on the next RA is that the delegate that attend this RA may not attend the next one. So, they will vote for something that they didn't experiment, or I don't know. So I think we should
she was given, and also this has no effect on the final financial report. If this is accepted, it's still expected that they provide the final financial report in the AFPS in Zambia next year. So if they bring it, it still have to be deliberated on. That's what the practice is. So we submit an intermediate, and then the AFPS in Zambia, we submit the final financial report. So that's what all the symposia have to be done. POI, Mr. Daniel McDonald, Motions Committee, IPSF.
Daniel, Motions Committee. So just to clarify on the point that was raised, so another reason why you have a 1 year period is because sometimes there will be delays in when the team will receive their sponsorship money or their participation fees, or maybe there have been changes that have happened during the event, which mean that you need a bit of time for the team to account for that. Also transaction fees, there's quite a lot that will go in after the event is finished. So the reason why we don't adopt the final financial report live during the event, or even 1 week or 2 weeks afterwards or a month afterwards, is because this will take some time, and then there's proofreading. The team might need to add any extra expenses if there was a problem that happened during the event, so they needed to spend a bit more, or if there's any ongoing investigations where they needed to compensate participants. So that's the reason why this will happen historically. So what you're voting on today is the status of the finances whenever the deadline was to submit the report. So if it was 2 weeks before the RA or 1 week before the RA. So this report won't be perfect as of today because it was submitted by the deadline set by the IPSF AfRO secretary. So you're voting on the intermediate financial report. You can give feedback here. Of course, you can vote in whatever way you see fit. However, the aim of this session right now is to maybe give feedback and vote if you are happy with the progress on the finances today, and then you can take this feedback on as a reception committee team to then ensure that the final financial report includes all of your feedback. But of course, this is down to interpretation. As an OD, if you don't feel comfortable with the report, you have all the authority you need, but just to give a bit of context on what we're voting on right now, I hope that's helpful. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you very much for that point of information. Technical, Ursula.
Financial reports, not intermediate financial reports. Thank you.
So are there any new comments? New comments, Kepsa Kenya.
Well, thank you, Chair. In Kepsa Kenya, I'd like the Chair to clarify an issue on the financial report. I think you not underestimated, but there is an undervalue of the accommodation for the PSD, because the PSD unit price is 10,000 francs, and the accommodation for the main symposium is 100,000 francs. So is it that we are having different locations? Because also accommodation for 1,000 francs, 10,000 francs, sorry, does not make sense. Thank you.
to respond to the question.
Thank you, Kevsa Kenya. This is totally a mistake. It was supposed to be 100K, not 10K. It's a mistake.
Clarifications, if I'm here, first one.
How do you do your calculation to have the correct amount that you have in your pocket, and then showing us when is this big, huge mistake here? And another clarification that I want to raise. Can I do? Okay, thank you. I'll come to it.
I hope the IC chair got your question. So you have the floor for it.
Thank you, Desire, for your question. This mistake about accommodation for the PSD, which is 4 nights for 75 rooms, that must bring a lot of change on this section. However, we have already covered the accommodation. You get, have already covered the accommodation, so it must bring some change on the entire budget. So if you allow, I will go and review. So that's it's correct. Either the final report.
Point of information, point of order. Dr.
Daniel, Motions Committee. So, point of order is when you address, you have to say your name and your position. So, just remember every time you speak to say that. So, second point of order is to clarify what a clarification means. Is if you didn't hear or you didn't understand what was said, and they can repeat what is said. If you have another comment, then it's a new comment. So, number one. Thank you.
Thank you. Motions Committee.
Clarification to FAMPF.
Thank you, Chair, for the floor. Disaster Family AfRO. I want the Chair of IPSF to provide clarification on what he said. If I understand well, he's already covered the fees for the accommodation as well. And when you enter I think he's using the Excel, the Excel or sheet. I mean, when you're using the IT stuff, you should put, it is supposed to calculate itself, so you don't have to make calculation by yourself, so no mistake for the computer technical. So if you already cover and the computer is showing another amount, it is supposed to tick. So I want to understand why is the physical money and the numbers money are matching when there is a difference. Why? How can they match?
Thank you for your comment. Give your clarification. So, direct, but if I want to advise Zambia that you can express yourself in French and then do the translation for you for better understanding.
So to respond transparently, this budget that we presented some of the items are not yet covered, like we still have the money. This money that I presented is the money which will be remaining by the end of when everything is covered. You get it? However, since this error happened and we found that you'll not be in a loss by the end, I go and double check. Thank you.
Thank you. New comment, Kepsa Kenya.
Thank you, Chair. Tracy Cherop, Kepsa Kenya. I would like to understand why the accommodation fee is at 100,000 franc, given that lunch and dinner is already on the budget, so it's separate from the 100,000 franc, because that seems to be a bit high just for bed and breakfast. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Kepsa Kenya for your new comments. Guillaume, you have the floor for a direct.
Thank you so much, Kepsa Kenya, for your comment. The question, the amount for the accommodation is 100K, and the negotiation is the hotel. Not because if you go and book by yourself, will you pay 100K. For one loan, a person is supposed to pay 60 USD. You get 60 USD if you go to the hotel. But under our negotiations, they put the amount for the loan to accommodate 2% for 100K, including the morning breakfast. You get this. And even the airport pickup. Yes. That's a negotiation. But if you go by yourself, that's it.
New comments, Leah Burkina Faso.
Thank you, Chair, for the floor. This is from Burkina Faso. This is a question for the committee. Thank you. My question is that Texas are saying that even if it is an intermediate financial report, we can accept something that we haven't seen yet, and then come back to it. That's what Texas are saying regarding financial reports. On that, I would like to advise people to think about it. Thank you.
Lisa, please, can you speak French for us to interpret it? And I think for procedural motion, if you want to refer to the motions committee, you need to read procedural motion. Please.
Ok, thank you, Chair, for the floor. This is Stéphane de Burkina Faso. Donc, ce que je disais, c'était que, en application des textes, ce qui est dit, c'est qu'on peut voter un rapport financier intermédiaire qu'on n'a pas vu, et puis revenir dessus quelques temps après, parce que c'est ce qui est dit là. on peut accepter d'accepter le rapport financier d'un événement qu'on n'a pas posé. Je parle ici du PST. Donc le PST ne s'est pas encore passé. On dit qu'il va nous coûter tel et on doit l'accepter pour revenir dessus après. Moi, je trouve que ça n'a pas beaucoup de sens. Ce que je pense, c'est que c'est après un événement qu'on revient sur le rapport financier, pas avant. C'est pour ça que j'avais demandé, en motion procédurale, de remettre le rapport financier à peut-être 1 ou 2 semaines en ligne après l'événement. Et ça peut être un intermédiaire effectivement, puisque l'événement est passé, il lui laisse toujours le temps de l'année pour être validé, l'année qui suit à l'AfRO. Ça c'est. Et donc je revenais dessus pour inviter les autres à être éveillés sur la question. C'est ça.
Thank you. So, Desire from Burkina Faso said, instead of voting now the intermediate financial report, it's better if you can do it 2 weeks later after the symposium, because we cannot vote for something we haven't done yet. EST left, we haven't done with the PST, and anything can happen. So we propose if we can have online RA, then we can vote for the intermediate financial report, because it doesn't make sense to vote next year during the next RA for the final financial report. So that's the.
Avant que la décision finale arrive, on peut voter en rapport intermédiaire, mais peut-être la semaine après que ce soit passé. Du coup, le total, l'année prochaine.
Okay, so for the final is next year.
That's fine.
That's fine. But for the intermediate, let's do it 2 weeks after the symposium. This symposium. 2 weeks or 1 week, depending on it. That makes. I want to clarify something for Desire. May I? Okay. All right. So I think this intermediate report, where we are voting now, because they are in our constitution, we had to vote the intermediate financial report before the end of the hour. I don't know if you understand. Yeah. So I'm just trying to explain why they say that.
Already got it.
It's more interesting if you have it like on site. Online is not always interesting. Maybe you can have a lot of problems like I don't know, network issue. So the best place to vote for the intermediate is now. And even though we accept the intermediate, it doesn't mean if the final one is not like what we are expected, we have to accept that. We can still reject the final one and they have to pay for the participants. So I just want to raise that. Thank you.
Okay, direct comment, Daniel.
Daniel Motions Committee, so in response to your new comments, which was about whether or not you can table the motion, you have the right to table the motion if you feel that the information is not accurate. So to give a bit of context of what I've seen in many regional symposia, GAs as well. So sometimes the RA might think that it's a small typographical error, like 10,000 instead of 100,000. And the RA might do a green light or a red light to approve. You can just change that, but if that changes all of the figures, this might take a bit more time for your team. So if it's simply just one number that is changing, you might want to approve just those small changes and then you can vote on it now. So that would be something, if you want to do, maybe you can propose an amendment and ask them to make the small tweaks now, if that's something that can be done. If it's actually you don't feel comfortable with the finances as they are presented now, you can either choose to table the motion and then you would propose when you want it to be tabled to, if you want it to be the end of the RA in person, or if you want it to be during an online session, you can do that. So you have options really. You can either ask them to make small tweaks now, before the RA finishes. As mentioned, this was submitted before the RA began, so there will always be some changes that will be made actually during the event, during the PST. So the intermediate will always take place before these events happen, so that's where the final financial report comes in. But if you think that the information in this report is not accurate, based on the information they knew when they submitted it before the RA, then you have these options to table or to ask for an amendment on the report, and then the chair will decide if they're happy for it to be amended now, or if that's not acceptable, then the motion will need to be tabled if you're not happy with it, or obviously there's the options to abstain or approve anyway, and just give verbal feedback. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Technical Stefan also.
Thank you, Chair, for the floor. This is Stefan Bia Burkina Faso. From technical, I raise a motion and I want it to be voted because it's a motion. I raised the motion earlier, so propose a motion, right? Okay.
Thank you, Chair, for the floor. Moses Walter coming out of Chair from Liberia. Point of order, we're using the system, so I don't understand why is it that we have issues in the system and we're accepting fingers signs. Thank you.
Clarification, procedural motions, there's a hitch with the system, so yesterday I mentioned that for procedural motions, let's use finger. Stefan? Procedural motion, Stefan Bia Burkina Faso.
Thank you, Chair, for the floor. This is Stefan Bia Burkina Faso. I would like to propose a motion to cover the adopt of the intermediate financial report of the 14th IPSF AfRO Pharmaceutical Symposium to a week after, for 2 weeks after the symposium, RA online, because we want to finish with the symposium and then have the entire experience and before adopting the intermediate report. This also will make the decision easier for our successor next year during the 15th AfRO. So we adopting a report that we experience, we experiment, we facilitate for our successor. Thank you.
So I want to give a point of information. 2 weeks after the completion of the symposium, the General Assembly in Bangkok, Thailand will still be ongoing. And so